Welcome to the East Bank Sports Show, proudly brought to you by the Fanatical Elves, a member of the Fans First Sports Network. Broadcasting live from the vibrant East Bank of the Flats in Cleveland, Ohio. Join us as we delve into the heart of Cleveland sports. It's your hosts, Noah and Matt.
Football's back, baby. Cleveland, welcome in to the East Bank Sports Show. I am your host, Noah, with my boy, Matt. Matt, how we doing, man?
Not bad. Getting over a little sickness, but excited to be here. Happy to talk sports. That's all that matters.
And I hope everyone out there is having a great Labor Day weekend. I know I have enjoyed the extra day off. I am ready to get back into the grind of the 9 to 5. Not really, but I'll pretend like it tomorrow. Damn it. More importantly, the Cleveland Browns play a football game that has meaning behind it. Not tonight, Sunday night, against the Dallas Cowboys at 4:25, America's Game of the Week on Fox. Tom Brady's broadcasting debut. But Matt, first, I want to know, what are your overall expectations for the Cleveland Browns in 2024? And I kind of wanted to know, like a bracket. So like a bare minimum versus a peak, that kind of thing. So let me hear your thoughts, man.
Peak, obviously. I think we both agree on this. It's a Super Bowl caliber roster. That's the peak. We've got all the pieces. It should be there. I don't think there's any disagreement in that between us.
I agree. Continue.
On a low end, I could see us going as bad as like 9-8. I could see it being a pretty rough year as well.
Okay. So how I took this is what my expectations are, what this roster should be doing at this point, regardless, based off of all the stuff, all the pieces that have gone in there. I expect this team, I will be disappointed if it's outside of this. I'm not saying I think this 100%, but I expect this team to go 10-7 at bare minimum and make the playoffs and win a playoff game. That should be an expectation for this Cleveland Browns roster at this point, given everything we saw last year combined with hopefully the lack of injuries this season. And of course, the peak is to win a Super Bowl. It is year 2 of 3 of this whole Deshaun Watson, going all in for him plan. They did say it was a 3-year plan last year. Also, if you look at contracts and how they have everything set up, they're kind of looking at this year, next year is like our big bubble. And then we might have to retool after that with some of the contracts and that kind of thing. But bare minimum, this should be a 10-7 football team with a playoff berth, in my opinion. If it's anything outside of that, this whole season's a disappointment. Matt, what do you think?
I agree with that. When we start talking playoff success, I think one win is kind of the baseline in my head. If we have that year and we go to the playoffs and we don't win 2 playoff games, we're not in the AFC chip. I feel like that would kind of be a letdown to get all the way there, fight all the way there. Like you just said, we definitely have the roster. We have the pieces. If it goes that way and it falls according to plan as it should and we get to the playoffs, it should be a multi-win playoff team.
Right. That should be the expectation. And I kind of wanted to set this up before we go in and start doing our pregame of the Dallas Cowboys, which I know me and you are very excited that we are back on being able to talk a weekly Browns, opponent matchup, predictions, that kind of thing. I just wanted to kind of put my thoughts out there as in terms of what I expect this team to do and what, would be a failure of expectations if they lay a nothing burger of a season. To me, 10-7 and a playoff berth with a playoff win is the bare minimum I want to see out of this team this year. If there's anything else, there's no excuse for it. There's something wrong with what we have going on, and we have to change it, period. Matt, any other expectations? I wanted to talk some player expectations real quick. I kind of wanted to hear what you had to say player-wise. Deshaun, what's your expectations for Deshaun? I know this is off the hip, but I kind of want to hear some of the thoughts you have for Deshaun Watson.
I need him to be serviceable. I'll die on the hill. I don't think he's ever going to be an elite all-star, best quarterback, top 5 quarterback in the league. I know you might disagree with me on that. I'll die on that hill. But kind of like we were just hitting at, we have the roster. I just need him to do the bare minimum, I don't want him to be the guy that, runs for 1,000 and throws for 4,000. I want him to be the guy that finds the open receivers, doesn't throw stupid picks, takes the ground advantage when it's given to him. And we know he can. He showed it at the end of his season last year. He just needs to keep doing that.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm at like 3,500 yards is again the bare minimum. 25-ish touchdowns, give or take. It doesn't have to be directly at the line of 25 if he hits 23, and less than 10 turnovers. Turnovers is keys. That's fumbles and picks. He needs less than 10 this season, in my mind. That should be the expectation out of a guy you're paying the money that you are, especially when we've seen good quarterback play out of way less the last couple years. That's kind of my expectations. I also expect this defense to bounce back. I expect them to look 100% like they did last year, but I know you wanted to talk about this with the Dallas game. So I'm going to cut us to commercial break real quick. I know it's super early in the show, but I want to have all the time in the world and not cut us off to talk Browns versus Cowboys because the NFL is back, baby. So we're going to cut to commercial break. When we come right back, we're going to start talking about this Browns-Cowboys game, week 1, game of the week, America's game of the week. We'll be right back with the East Bank Sports Show. And we are back with the East Bank Sports Show. And Matt, we have finally made it back to the NFL season. We get to sit down on the show and break down what's going to happen week 1 for the Cleveland Browns against the Dallas Cowboys, America's game of the week. Matt, what are you thinking, my man? I'm ready to hear your thoughts.
I'm going to be put on a cross for this one. We're losing week 1. I've said it a few times before. Thank you, Mr. Max. I've said it a few times before. I'll say it again. We're starting the season 0-1. Doesn't matter. It's not knocking our season off course. Cowboys are just a good team in the regular season.
Yeah. Here's my thing, right? We've got a couple things here at play. Darren Bland, I believe he is their number 1 corner, is going to be out this game. So that's huge for us in terms of trying to get some good matchups early on. Obviously, Micah's still involved, and they do have a good defense regardless. But in terms of the receiving matchups, I'm really excited to see what a Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper can do against, not the cream of the crop against their secondary. Another thing to mention is that Denzel Ward is going to play in this game despite the concussion drama. Speaking of the concussion drama, we will be talking about that on Wednesdays at the office. So make sure you tune in Wednesday, 9:30. It might be Thursday this week. I'm not sure because Eric is on vacation. But I did want to point out last year when Ward played, he held Brandon Ayuk to 1 catch for 8 yards and Jamar Chase for 4 catches for 26 total yards. So when the Warden is healthy, the Warden is elite. I'm predicting right now we're going to see less than stellar play from CeeDee Lamb because of this, because that Chase game was the first game last year. He'll get some catches. He'll give you some fantasy points. He's on one of my rosters, but that's kind of where I'm at. I also want to point out real quick, too, because we always like to talk, some of the gambling when it comes to the NFL season. And I'll get to my parlay at the end because Noah's parlays are back, baby. But the Browns are a 2.5-point favorite. With 61% of the bets on favor of the Cleveland Browns, according to DraftKings. We're looking at a 72-degree game, sunny, nice, warm first day of football for the Cleveland Browns. Matt, record prediction, player predictions. Let me hear what you have to say.
So we kind of got into it a little bit there. I think the keys for Cleveland to win this game pretty much come down to the backfield, Deshaun Watson and Jerome Ford. I think you're going to see Deshaun Watson throw for like let's say 225. I'll throw the number there. 225. He's going to throw 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Jerome Ford's going to run for, let's say, 86 yards and a touchdown.
You think that's all Jerome Ford? Because we do have Foreman back, our backup running back, signed him in the offseason to kind of play second fiddle to Ford while Chubb is gone. What do you see happening with Foreman during this game? Do you think he's going to, I see him getting like a cool 40 yards, 40 to 50 yards, and then you can interchange a touchdown between him and Ford. But that's just me. I want to hear what you have to say.
Could definitely see the touchdown going either way. I think you're going to see Foreman get, no more than 8 touches, whether that be receptions or runs. I guess it really comes down to what he does when he gets the ball. I don't see him getting the ball too much this week. I think it's going to definitely be a more Jerome Ford and short pass game style offense this week. That's just my idea of how we would attack this Dallas defense.
Yeah.
Which, getting into that, kind of what you said, I'll let you go first because I'm going to go for a minute there, actually.
No, you're good. You're good. I just wanted to point out real quick that Deshaun Watson's line is actually at 218.5, so over under 218 and a half yards. So you're just barely taking the over. My offensive prediction is that Deshaun Watson throws 2 touchdowns and a pick with around 200 yards. So we're basically in the same ballpark. I think the touchdown is actually going to be to Jerry Jeudy this week. I don't think Amari scores in week 1. It's just one of those gut feelings. So if you want to take an anytime touchdown on Jerry Jeudy, I'm calling it right now. But I'm also shouting out my boy, the Chief, David Njoku. I think he's going to catch one as well. I think he's going to continue his momentum from last season, as well as Ford getting a touchdown, which I believe you said as well, Matt. Go ahead with your defensive takes.
Obviously, you have an arguable top 5. Well, I'll just say top 10 to prevent the argument here because it doesn't matter. You have a top 10 quarterback and a top 3 receiver we're going up against. Defense needs to come ready. Defense needs to come dominant. I personally am really worried about our defense this year. I know you just said you were confident. I am the complete opposite.
Why is that?
There's no argument that last season Cleveland was one of, if not the best defense in the NFL, correct?
Statistically ranked number 1, correct.
You give NFL minds a full offseason to prepare for that. Go back and look at previous year's number 1 defense. They fall off. I mean, you have San Fran that was number 1 for like every other year.
But they've been top 10 for years, man. They've been top 10 for years.
I'm just so nervous that, the spotlight came onto us and you're going to have all these, like Dallas's offensive coaching staff has had all offseason to look at our defense, find the flaw there, and pick it apart. It makes me nervous.
Is it making you nervous because you're a Cleveland fan and you're not used to having nice things? Or are you nervous because there's something there? Because to me, there's nothing there. We have the same defensive staff coming back. We have the same, if not a better defense, depending on how some of these draft picks play or when they play. Shout out Mike Hall. I don't know if that should really be a shout out, but you know what I mean. Who is on the commissioner's exempt list right now. I just think this defense has the biggest opportunity to double back on what they've done last season. Do they have to be number 1 statistically, period? No, because the goal is for the offense to not need that this year like we needed it last year. I mean, we saw how that went when we played a dynamic offense like Houston in the playoffs. To me, man, you just sound like a scared Cleveland fan because we're not used to having nice things. We were supposed to shake that out of you when we won the basketball championship 10 years ago. Continue.
You're 100% right. I'm not even going to try to deny it. It's Cleveland. We can't have nice things. I know we're going to get into it a little bit. Look at what's happened in our baseball season. We'll get into it a little bit. We're not allowed to have nice things. It's a very Cleveland thing to do for our defense's wheels to just fall off this season for what looks like no reason.
It's time, and I'm making my declaration right now. It is time for us as a sports city to get that shit out of our head, man. Get it out of here. We're good at basketball. We are good at baseball. We are good at football. Hell, we're even good at hockey. They were 1 game away from going to the Calder Cup. Let it go. Just because everything doesn't go peachy keen, that's every franchise in sports, period. We have an elite coach. We have an elite defense. We have a damn good receiving core. We have damn good special teams. There is nothing about this team that tells me that we should go 9-8, like you said, have a piss poor defense like you're nervous about. Sorry, Matt, I'm digging into you right now because I'm worked up. I'm over this negativity. I get it when we were trotting out Johnny Manziel and Deshaun Kaiser and Josh McCown and Colt McCoy and Brandon Whedon, whatever name on that jersey you want to throw out there.
So many names.
But that's not this team anymore, man. It's not. And if it is, I'd be completely flabbergasted. I'm bringing out the vocab. Continue with your take, man. Give me something else. Give me something happy.
A happy take, and I want to double down on what you got into, which looks very good for us. And I kind of wanted to highlight this, but you took it from me, is the secondary matchup we have. Our receivers stacking up against their secondary and their linebackers. We should have a field day in the 7 to 16, 18-yard range, the midfield, mid passes. We should be able to tear them up. It should be 100%. An absolute field day, especially with De'Aaron Bland, their number one corner out, like you touched on. It should be the perfect situation for Deshaun to get his feet under him and, be able to make the easy, good read and throw.
That's what I was going to say, too, is I hope that because it's a depleted secondary, it gives Deshaun the chance to kind of get into the motion. He doesn't have to have a perfect game. He has started every season of his football career. So if he has this, I mean, I'm the optimistic one here, and I'm even saying he's throwing 2 touchdowns a pick, like 200 yards. He's going to look all right. It's just how he's going to look, regardless of if it's an MVP season or a 6-game injury-riddled season. You know what I mean? That's just who he is as a quarterback. He always starts slow. The other thing I wanted to touch on, which I think is important as to why I think the Cleveland Browns are going to win, and then we can give our score predictions as well as any other points. I'm going to get into my parlay before we go in and talk guards before we wrap the show up. The Browns were 8-1 at home last year. The Cowboys were 4-5 on the road last year. Because of that, because of their lack of ability, and their roster is pretty much the same on the road, and how raucous that dog pound is going to be with $225 plus tickets to sit in the nosebleeds, I think the Browns take this one 24-14. It's going to be a close game. I think the defense also gets an interception, maybe even take 6. 24-14 Cleveland Browns. What is your score prediction, Matt?
I'm going to start before I even get into that. Noah, if our defense holds the Cowboys to 14 points or less.
We held teams last year at home to under 13 points a game. That's where I got my 14 from. I think they don't do the same thing this year. The average from the season, it was like 13.7. That's where I got the 14 points from Dallas, just so you know. It wasn't me just saying, oh, I think our defense is going to smother them. It's based off of the statistics at home from last year with basically the same defense out there.
I was, slightly unaware of that statistic. I'm still going to double down, though. And if we hold the Cowboys to 14 points or less, I'll run a beer mile and send you the time lapse and let you post it on this channel. There's no way we hold them to 14.
Oh, we'll let it air before we start the next episode because you're running that beer mile,
There's no
mile,
shot.
my friend.
No shot.
So what's your score prediction then? I'm ready.
31-21. As I said earlier, we're going to lose this game.
You think we're going to lose to Dallas for sure?
Yes.
You are so pessimistic, but you know what? That's what I brought you in here for. I want to go into my parlay of the week. For all the viewers at home who watch via video, shout out everybody on the YouTube channel watching live. Shout out to anybody on Facebook watching live. X as well. X is involved here as well. My parlay of the week. We have a graphic this year. We're going to do graphics from now on. Noah's week 1 Browns parlay, Cleveland Browns money line, Jerome Ford anytime touchdown. I think that is going to be a lock with how heavy we run the ball in general. And I'm taking the over on David Njoku yards. I think 43 for rack tight end is a pretty solid line to take the over on and run it that way. $25 wins you $108 at 435 odds. Plus, obviously. Matt, what do you think of the parlay?
I like it. I think you found the right picks. Are you doing it if, they score more than 14 points max. Are you going to do it? You running the mile?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
No, I definitely like that pick. Like you said, I like Njoku to find the end zone. His yards seem like the easy pick.
For sure. I thought you were going to come at me because I had the Browns money line on there. I'm confident in the Brownies week 1. I don't have any hesitations here. I don't think this is an automatic win for the Cleveland Browns by any means. So don't get me there. But I do think that there's a reason the Browns are favored and should win this game, and why I'm confident they will. I know the 14 points is bold, but I like being bold on the show. And based off of the statistics last year, man, I'm ready for Myles Garrett to have a field day. 3 sacks. No, I'm just kidding. Let's go to the Guardians before I piss off Matt some more. Are the Cleveland Guardians back? Matt, we just wrapped up a game against the Kansas City Royals. And they won again. And they just won another series against the Pirates. Looked pretty damn good doing it, minus they didn't win all 3. They didn't pull the sweep, but they looked good winning that series. So I ask you, are the Cleveland Guardians back?
That's a tricky question in my mind. I don't want to, dance around and try to give some deep answer to every question you throw me. But the snowball is rolling towards us being back, is how I would like to put that.
I'll take that. I thought you were going to be like, no, we still suck after we beat the team that we had trouble with last week with the Royals series. I'm happy that we finally got our heads out of our asses and brought Kyle Manzardo back to the lineup because he had a hell of a day yesterday. This is on a Monday. We typically do our recording. So the Sunday game, 2 home runs. First game back since we decided to send him back to Columbus. And I'm going to go ahead and say the Guardians are 70% back. I'm with you in the snowball rolling right now. I don't want to say we're so back, we're winning the World Series, jumping around all optimistic like I tend to be. I think we're like 70% back. I think we really need to take this Royals series. The lead we have on the division, though, makes me happy because it was close there for a while. I was at the game. It rained out and then came back, and we lost 5-1 for there to be no clear division winner between us and Kansas City. We are the clear division winner again. So I am really ecstatic that that's a thing because it was making me nervous that we were really going to lose the lead. But I'm going to go 70% back. Snowball's definitely rolling. I agree with you, Matt. Matt, any other Guardians takes? I know we both wanted to shout out Manzardo. Is there anything else on your mind? I know we were going to keep this one quicker because we're getting towards the end of the MLB season.
I actually do have a few points, if you don't mind. I'll run through them quick, but there's a few things I'd like to hit.
Take your time. I ramble. You take your time. Please talk. I'm ready.
So one thing that kind of threw me there that you said is a division lead of 3.5 games over both the Twins and Royals with 25 left. That's not a big lead. That makes me a little nervous.
Still makes me nervous too, but the fact that there's a multi-game lead as opposed to tied, yes, continue.
But kind of, going on with the snowball rolling a little bit, our hitters that we need to be hot are starting to heat back up right now. Like, the hair dryer is on, it's getting warm. We're not there yet, but we're close. We are very close to, being the team we were 3 months ago that was winning every game, hitting 2 homers. And I could see us getting back to that point where we were the dominant team in baseball, the best team in baseball. Maybe not, all the way back, but the offense is starting to look like it might come close to that. And then for the first time this season, I'm actually kind of comfortable with our starters. 1 through 5, I don't hate the fact that we have to start any of those guys right now.
Lane Thomas with a 2 home run game today. It's like he remembered how to play baseball. You texted me as soon as I got literally the notification for it because I was at the gym at the time of the game. Literally the notification of Lane Thomas 2-run homer. I then got Matt Pulitzer is typing on Snapchat. That was funny as hell. Continue.
But the one thing that does kind of scare me is out of those 25 games left I just mentioned, 14 of them are against the Dodgers, Twins, Reds, Astros, and Royals. 4 of them with the Twins. That's a tough finish to the year.
Yeah, we do go through a gauntlet, but I think and I hope and I pray that the gauntlet helps us in terms of shaping up to go for the postseason and, maintaining our grasp on the AL Central. That all your points you got?
Yep.
All right, let's do final thoughts and takes, man. Matt, final thought, final take.
My final take, and this is a little bit of shocker that you skipped over, so I'm glad. The Bengals are going to win the AFC North this season.
Oh, I forgot to say that. Yeah, I was going to say the Cleveland Browns anyway. I don't think the Bengals are going to win the AFC North because there's a lot of drama going on over there right now. Jamar Chase has been still holding out. I don't know if he returned to practice today or not. I did not catch that yet. So I don't think the Bengals are the team that would dethrone the Browns in my mind for the AFC North crown. I think it would still be the Ravens. My final thought and take, though, is that we as a fan base need to just be happy with what we have. I feel like we are in this constant loop of wanting to change from coach to GM to player from player. That's not how a well-oiled machine in any sports franchise works. We just need to take a deep breath, be happy where we are, because there was a point in time about 10, 12 years ago that there was a LeBron-less Cavs, a pitiful Indians franchise, and an 0-16 Browns team, or worse. Not worse, but 3-13, 5 and whatever. Let's just be happy where we are, that we get to watch some damn good sports as a bunch of Cleveland fans, because one of these teams are going to pop, and one of these teams are going to hoist up a trophy, and we're going to be having the parade of our lives sooner rather than later. This has been another episode of the East Bank Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. It helps grow our channel and our brand a ton. Shout out Fans First Sports and the Fanatical Elves Network, our partners in this whole podcasting, streaming, YouTubing game. And until next time, Cleveland, wherever you are, however you are, have a great rest of your day. Go Browns.